So thank you, Susan, for volunteering.
Sure.
This is going to be a demo. So in a real session, I would do a lot of assessment first, and I would probably start with hips, because hips have 5 joints and can lock up and create a lot of instability down as well as up. But today for the demo, I picked a shoulder because the movements are large and easy for an audience to see. So what I would do, if Susan came in with a ache in her shoulder or even unable to move it, I'd be looking for tight areas, and just like we spoke about earlier, I would find a position. So if there was one up near her collarbone, what I would do is take the arm and again making this muscle here, shortening it, so that, again, the same thing, relaxing it, stimulating the long overstretched muscles to get more tone. So we would create a softening. I'm looking for a softening. I would maybe move it a little more over here, a little more over here. It may go down a little or up a little, but we're looking for a softening of the tissue. And then I would probably compress into the joint. So I'd press down. It's not a lot of pressure, but it's enough to interface with the muscle and dance with the muscle. So what I'm feeling right now is a little bit of pulsing, which means circulation is coming into the area. And I also feel that the arm wants to just move a little bit. So in a session, I would follow that and then come out of it. And then integrate a little bit, just move a little bit so this muscle knows it has another range of motion than it came, more than when it came in. And I may do that again if things are stuck. So then there's other shoulder points higher up on the shoulder. So this one may look like this position, and that would, I'm looking to shorten the muscles on top of the shoulder, and I would compress into the joint, and I'm looking for the muscle to soften as well as pulsation. And then I may even feel it push me out, which means that it's rebounding and coming out. So we can do that one. Another shoulder point is right on the top of the humerus. There's about 8 shoulder points in particular. And I would raise the arm up here. Again, we're looking to shorten that tightness. And I would compress into the joint so that we're stimulating the proprioceptors. And I'm listening. I'm listening for the body to respond, because I'm not forcing anything. I'm dancing with the body, and I would like to introduce information and see what the body does with it. So that's a short demonstration of a few of the shoulder points. There's, so we did 3, so there's 5 more, but that's probably enough for right now. So thank you, Susan. We'll have you sit up. And I'll have another person come on the table. That'll be Rich. And head here, face up. And I'm going to show a little bit of rib releases, because ribs often get stuck, especially the top ribs, and cause neck and shoulder problems. And this one will have some isometrics in it, so you can see a few isometrics. So if I felt it was more tight on the right side, and I felt like the first rib, so this is the first rib release, I would take Rich's arm and I would place his elbow, and I would tell him what I was doing. So I'd place his elbow towards the ceiling and his hand towards his ear, and just to relax a little bit. And then for the isometric, I would monitor the tight muscle, and I would ask him to, with 10 to 20% of his strength, and I'm the obstacle, I would ask him to push towards the table. And after about 5 seconds, I would ask him just to stop and relax, and I will finish the muscle. So the last part, I finished what the muscle wanted to do, but it's passive. And that seems to work pretty well. So I'm going to ask Rich to do that now. I'm going to put his elbow towards the ceiling, his hand relaxed by his ear, and this again is a first rib release. So I'm putting resistance on his elbow. Now using 10 to 20% of your strength, pressure elbow towards the table. Thank you. So we're just going to be in this little dance, and I'm going to count to about 5. And then I'm going to ask you to release, and I finish the muscle movement where the muscle wanted to go passively. So we may do that another time again, and then I recheck to see if it's gotten a little softer. And then there's different positions, such as for that first rib. So I can put his arm across here and ask him to move in this direction while I'm resisting. And then the last part, after about 5 seconds, I'll finish his movement. And this one will start with an isotonic, which means I'm going to keep his muscles the same, but then I'm going to let him move. Isometric, and then this is the isotonic. And then at the last part, I'll finish it passively. And this is just getting online some things that may be inhibited, that aren't working right. So, okay, Rich, if you're ready, with about 10 to 20% of your strength, towards the wall, down towards the floor, and I'm going to count to about 5. So now I'm holding steady. This is the isometric. Now I'm going to let him move a little on his own, and his body's going to start finding other ways to do this. Okay, that was about 5 seconds, so I'll ask you just to relax, and I'll bring this out, finish that range of motion. So there's quite a different positions to look for, and we're always looking for where the muscle softens. Okay, so the third rib release I would like to show you is for rib 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to shrug his shoulder up towards his ear, and I'm going to put my elbow underneath his armpit, probably hang onto the table a little bit, and then I'm going to ask Rich to push his hand towards his feet. So when you're ready, Rich, we're going to do this for about 5 seconds. Good, excellent. And I may be holding the point and just listening. Is it active, or is this a good point? So after about 5 seconds, I'll say just relax, and then I'll finish that muscle movement. And we may do that a couple of times also. So the other thing that Ortho Bionomy works with, sometimes something is stuck, a bone is stuck, but it's stuck because of an organ. So we also work with the organs. So for an example, a lot of us are stressed. Well, that often involves the kidneys and the adrenals and a muscle called the psoas. And these are all in a fascial sac. They all work together, and they get turned on if we get in fear or stress. So one of the movements I might do for that, there's quite a few movements. And so actually I'll sit with that one, and I'll take his knee and I'll put my hand where the psoas starts, which is about here on his back. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shorten that muscle so I know where the muscles are and what shortens them. And then I'm going to compress in. So same pattern. And I'm listening right now, and I feel movement that wants to go towards his foot. And I'll just kind of listen to that movement, keep the connection, and when it pushes me out, then I'll follow it. And that's the body reflexes kind of gaining ground there a lot. Now somebody may have an injury where they can't move their shoulder. So we don't have to have big movements. We can have really small movements because the nerves come to the skin, and the fascia's on the right under the skin, and the nerves are all intertwined in the fascia. So we can actually work with the nervous system with very tiny movements. So I can put my hand on each side, maybe do a little compression, maybe not, depending, it has to be comfortable. But it can work very lightly, and I feel there's some movement in there now. It's kind of doing its unwinding, so I'll just kind of follow it. Or maybe I'll just hold it still and let it kind of come out into a different pattern. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
So when you do that on one side, do you then go around to the other side, even though there may not be the same amount of tightness? And
I can check it and just see how it's responding. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you definitely do bilateral. Other times I might just do the injured area. Okay. So you would check. You would check and see range of motion. I might move the shoulder, find out where it's stuck on both sides. That was a good question. Thank you.
So what you're doing is so gentle. Like I've had a lot of body work that's really deep and really painful. So do people notice the change that quickly?
I can attest to that, since she did something yesterday for me, and I could feel a difference in the muscle that it had relaxed this morning when I did my yoga. It was different.
Wow.
Which I didn't believe in what she was doing either. But it something happened. It is definitely different.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And it can go that way. It can also go, Ortho Bionomy is compared to homeopathy. And sometimes things also get worse. But that's just that they're traveling back to what originally happened, and they have to start there and come out. So it can go both ways. It can be absolutely wonderful, which people enjoy, but it can also sometimes, while bones are readjusting, because I could be in the spine and you have some rotation, and I'm working with that rotation, and when it resets itself, a lot of the muscles or ligaments aren't used to, they were used to being tight, and the other ones, so now you've got some readjusting. So we don't know how the body's going to respond, but that's a really good question.
So you could get sore.
So you could get sore, yes.
But you don't always.
No, right.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so...
and the soreness will go away on its own once the muscle readjusts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually fairly quickly. A day, 3 days. It shouldn't take too long. And everything I do should be comfortable while I'm doing it. Everything. If it's not, I'm not in the principles, and the body's not relaxed, and so we can't get to the system and the reflexes the way we want to. So it's important that I stay in communication with the client and always make sure I'm moving towards comfort. Alrighty, well.
Are you feeling relaxed, Rich?
I'm very relaxed.
Good. He probably doesn't want to end.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Theresa.
Any other questions? Are we good?
Nope.
Good.
Okay. All right, and thank you for my demo, people.
Yeah.
And I guess
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.